Alright, in today's video, I'm going to be going over exactly what I changed in my approach to QR questions that resulted in me not even finishing half of the mock to then getting over 800 in every single mock I did. Changing this one thing in my approach was easily like the one thing that allowed me to sort of get the ball rolling towards getting a higher score. Because I remember I was really bad in every single section. So seeing some like vast improvement on QR then gave me the confidence to then go ahead and see improvements on the other sections as well and allowed me to score a top decile score. So no matter what you're getting in quantitative reasoning at the moment, whether it's downwards of 400, whether it's 600, I guarantee you that after watching this video and employing the strategy I outlined for you, within a few days, you're going to see some vast and major improvement in your quantitative reasoning scores, hopefully getting above 30 out of 36 in every single mock that you do. This is the same technique that I used when I was in bottom set GCSE to then start working my way up to getting to top set and getting a grade 9 in year 11. So even if maths has never been your strong suit, I guarantee you that after watching this video, after employing the strategy and the approach I outlined for you, that you will see a major improvement in your scores. And if you don't, you can come back and leave a hate comment, all right? But without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so what do I actually do to get a high score in QR? Because I'm sure you guys have tried, right? I'm sure you guys have feel that you've tried pretty much everything and nothing's sticking and nothing's clicking and you're still plateauing and getting the exact same scores as before, maybe seeing a 20 jump, but then you drop by 50 in your next mock. So for starters, I'm going to show you in like an untimed exactly how this approach works and break it down step by step. And then hopefully you guys get a good idea for it. You're able to apply it and see some results for it. I'll also show you it in real time as well, like with actual timed questions. So you guys can see me doing it in real time too. And yeah, how I do it and how to do it. And then hopefully you guys can try to emulate my thought process and see the same results for yourself. As for what question type I'm starting on, it's tables. This is like one of the hardest question types in the whole of the UCAT. And pretty much any question with money is really difficult as well. So this is actually a perfect first example. All right, this one's a much better example to show the splitting method with, right? So because we've got quite a wordy and it's like a multi-step question here and it's working with money, which most people find difficult, right? So let's split it up. So again, we'll cut out the bloat first. So new thing, plate PLC direct bloat, no one cares. And then they pay for, okay, there we go. There's some information there. They pay for the DBS check for 5 new employees. All right, 5 new employees. That's how many employees we have. First, you need to think to yourself, can I do any calculations with the information that I have? No, you can't. You can't do any calculations with just this because you don't know which DBS checks they have, right? They go into it later. So here, 2 employees, enhanced DBS check. Now I'm going to cut myself off. Everything else, not yet. We're not working with that yet. Right? Let's work that out first. 2 employees need an enhanced DBS check. 19.33 times by 1.2 plus 40 times by 2. And add that to our memory function on our calculator, 126.392. And that's essentially how much it costs for 2 employees for their enhanced DBS checks. So now what I've done is, right, I've gotten rid of the scribbles now, but now I've essentially replaced this whole sentence with just the number 2, what was it? 126.392. Right? It's replaced. Now, like I've replaced that in my head mentally, and you guys can add it to your memory function on the calculator, all right? So now we move on to the next part of the question. Next part of the question, which is the rest only need an enhanced DBS check. So that's 3, right? Because there's 5 employees. They're getting a, what one are they getting? They're getting a basic DBS check. So 18.5 times by 1.2 plus 23 multiplied by 3, add on to 126.392. And you get 261.992, which is 262. Now, if I was to do this question normally and read the whole question stem, so I was going to go to, okay, new thing place for DBS check 5 new employees, 2 employees need this, and then the rest only need this. Then once I'd read that, I'd go back to this part here, and then I'd start calculating, and then I'd start looking at the table. But when you instantly cut the question up and then instantly do a calculation, then you end up getting a lot quicker at doing your QR questions because then you don't get confused with all the different calculations. I know for this one, it's not that many calculations, but when it comes to other questions where they include percentages, like this one here, even maybe, there'll be a lot more calculations. So let's take this one, for example, all right? I'm reading nothing but the question first, okay? So what is the appropriate percentage change? Okay, percentage change, Western Farm here, well, waiver crest, sorry. Total revenue, total daily revenue, approximate percentage change, increases by this. So now I've read the question stem, we go to the information here, right? And when I do it, I split it up again. So they increase their daily output by 30%. So all I do for now, right, 450 times by 1.3. 585, and I've replaced this here just with the number 585. Now and only then, now that we've done the calculation, only then do we move on to the next, like reading the next part of the stimulus. Because if we do, then like if we were to read it all first, then we're going to get confused with the amount of calculations. We're going to backtrack. We're going to have to go back and forth, re-looking at the table. It's going to get hella confusing. So we can't do that. We need to do the calculations as we go. So then it says, but its revenue per milliwatts per hour. So revenue with milliwatts per hour decreases by 20%. So I keep 585 in my head. I don't use the memory function right now. I just say it out loud, 585 as I do the next part of the question. So AE times by what? It decreases, so times by 0.8, and we got 585, don't we? So 585 for the daily output, and we've got the revenue there. Now, since it's revenue per milliwatt per hour, we're just going to have to multiply it by the daily output, which I remember was 585. That's our revenue now. It's 37440. Again, you can add it into your memory function now. And then we have the original revenue, which is 80 times by 450. 80 times by 450. And then you can subtract it from the MRC. 144, and then you can divide it by the original, which was 80 times by 450. So 1440, 80 times by 450, 36,000. 1440 divided by 36,000, and you end up with a 4% percentage change. And remember, whenever you're doing like percentages, you don't times it by 100 after, because you end up wasting time. So like I know you guys are probably tempted to do 0.44 times by 100. Sorry, 0.04 times by 100, and then you get 4%, and then click it. But the second you see the 0.04, you just sort of times by 100 in your head there, or you just recognize that as 0.04, right, that's 4%. You should be able to recognize your percentages to increase your speed. But you see, the thing is that if I were to read the whole stimulus, right, or even to read this table stuff up here first rather than reading the question stem first, it would end up making me very, very confused, right? There's so much stuff in the table. There's a lot of these numbers, and you're going to get confused between going between numbers and letters and numbers and letters. So it's better to just sort of split up the question, isolate it, right? Because you guys may see this question, right? And it may seem like quite a lot for you guys to digest at once. But then let's just split it into one question here instead, right? Let's say instead they were asking Waiver Crest increases its daily output by 30%. What is the new daily output? I'm sure you guys would be a lot more amicable to doing that question, wouldn't you? Because it's just one calculation. It's 450 times by 1.3. But when they include like so many different calculations you guys have to do, and then they go between numbers and letters, like 30% to then going to more letters and more words, it gets confusing, it gets jumbled up in your head, and you get a brain blank. You sort of freeze up. All right, so for this one, right, again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to split it up, and this one's a little bit more complicated, so it'll be a good example. So how many farms qualify for the bonus? A performance bonus, all right, it's awarded average daily output here. So again, as I read different parts of the stimulus and the state and the question stem, I go back to the table. So as it says average daily output per member, I go, okay, daily output's here. I recognize where it is in the table as I'm reading, so I don't have to backtrack after I've read the whole question and then look at the table. I already know where it is. So average daily output per member of maintenance staff. Okay, of maintenance staff there. And it's above 35 milliwatts per hour. And there's another thing, I'm not going to read that yet. I'm not even going to read that yet. I'm just going to focus on this part here because there is calculations I can do with the first part of the question stem. So for this one, I can start doing calculations right away, can't I? I can check if the average daily output per members of maintenance staff was above 35. So for this one, 800 divided by 25, 32, it's not that. So 450 divided by 15, 450 divided by 15, 30, it's not above 35. 1200, 30, you could do that in your head, that's 40, yep. So 360 divided by 10, that's 36, so that is above 35. 1050 divided by 25 is 42. So there we go, these three ones are above 35. Now we move on to the next bit of qualifying information. So essentially this is revenue per, so revenue's here, per milliwatts of energy generated greater than 40 pounds. So revenue per milliwatts generated, that's here. That's not really anything else. That's not really, we don't need to do any calculations for that one. But now we've worked out, but during the first part, we've nailed it down to Rockdale, Sundale, or Bridgemore. They're the only ones that can qualify based on the first rule. Now, based on the second rule, the thing in this table here has to be greater than 40 pounds. Rockdale has 40 pounds, which isn't greater than 40. So it's just going to be Sundale and Bridgemore too. Now, you see, again, if I was to read this whole question stem, it would just get clunky. There's so much information. I'm getting confused. I'm not knowing where to start. When you just start with the first piece of information they can give you, they'll give you something that you can do a calculation from. You just start your calculations. Everything else sort of falls into place as you move on to the next part of the question, because they're very rarely going to give you information that you don't have to use to do calculations in the question stem, okay? Now, this is going to be the last question I go over for the same stimulus, right? Because it's a little bit tricky again. So this one, I'm going to whip out the snipping tool again for you guys, just so I'm able to show you exactly how I'm splitting it up as I'm reading, okay? So there is going to be some bloat as you're reading this, right? But here, right, Thornfield and Sunville, that's not bloat. We're doing the bloat in blue this time, all right? We'll cross it out in blue. So, all right, they jointly support an export contract. So again, all I really need to know is that they join, right? It's because like that it being an export contract doesn't really change anything. They're just joining up now. So now we have what 2,000 milliwatts of energy exported per day, split between them, that ratio. So now I'm going to cut myself off, because if I read the next part, right, this question's quite, like, already I know it's going to be quite complicated. It's quite lengthy from the question stem alone. So I'm not going to I'm not going to bother reading anything else yet. I haven't even read this question stem down here yet, you know? I haven't even read that yet. All I've read is this part here, and I'm going to do a calculation with it, okay? So instead of like typing out 2,000 divided by 5, you know, ideally you do this one in your head anyway, because 2,000 divided by 5 is just 20 divided by 5, which is 4. So then 4 times by 100 is 2,000 is 400. So instead of writing out on your calculator, like it's all clunky, you know, 2,000 divided by 5, try to simplify these and do them in your head, because you guys may not know like what 2,000 divided by 5 is, right? And I know that some of you will, but some of you who haven't done maths in a while won't. Like your mental maths won't be up to date on that. So instead, just do 20 divided by 5 in your head, which you guys should be able to do. It's 4. And then you times it by 100 in your head, and you get 400. Now, when we're dividing it up into the ratios, we know that Thorndale, it's a 3:2 ratio, and we know that one part's 400. So Thorndale's going to have 1,200, and Sunvale's going to have 800. 400 times by 3, 400 times by 2. And now, only then, now that I've replaced these, like all these words here with numbers, like I've replaced essentially this whole thing here, right? It's just, now it's just fully been replaced by 1,200 to 800. And that's just for energy exported per day. Like it's gotten so much more simpler now. All right, so now that I've split up the question, right? Thornville Farm charges 60% above its monthly revenue. So above 60%, that's going to be 1.6. Your percentage multiplier 1.6, right? Then I'm going to multiply that. Go on. Then 1.6 times by the revenue, 50, and we get 80. I'll replace that with a number here, 80. Now, Sunvale, 50% above its standard revenue. Sunvale's is 100 revenue, so that's just going to be 150. Because you're adding on, like above 50% is just adding on half of itself, so it's going to be 150. Then what is the daily revenue export contract? So daily revenue, we know how much they export per day, so it's just a matter of multiplying these by these, and then adding up your total, right? So 1,200 times by 80, 96,000, and then 150 times by 800, yeah. So that times plus your 96k, 216,000. So even with multi-step, like ones with ratios, with percentages, where they're combining all these different methodologies, if you do them like where you split it up into different parts of the question and then calculate as you go, it's going to be a lot quicker. You're not going to get confused. You're not going to get befuddled between numbers and words, and the question's going to move a lot smoother. All right, so I just gave you guys some advice and like this method, right? But how do you guys know it works, right? Obviously you employ it yourself, but it should be, I should put my money where my mouth is, right? So I'm just going to do one question here so as to not waste too much of your guys' time. But on Medify, you can't select one question, so I'll just skip the last ones, all right? All right, let's get into it. Okay, what's shortest distance stations on the Staff Road? Shortest distance stations. Okay, all right. 80 minus, that's going to be 1725, which is miles. Carlos driving 70 miles per hour. Shortest time he'll drive between service stations, 2 minutes, minus 8. Speed is distance over time. Speed times time is distance. Speed is distance over time. Distance over time. So time times by speed is going to be distance over time. It's distance over speed. So 8 divided by 70 is 60. It's Carlos driving 110. Reach premium motorsports, 110 miles per hour premium motorsport. And nearest minutes, 110 miles per hour. So speed is distance over time. So time, distance over time. So distance over speed. 80 divided by 110, 110. 68.75. 68.75. 1.16 plus y 60. Contour says me stop at toilet just past a service station. It's 13 miles to the next service. 13-mile difference. Fuel up. Yep, let's mark it. Yeah, and as you can see, the average spent was, I know that this one was a little bit easier, low-key, but as you can see, doing this method, like you can get the questions done really quick. As you can see, I'm like half the average time for like all of them, except for this one. I had a little bit of a brain blank on this one when I was like trying to rearrange the speed, distance, time equations, and on this one. But essentially, that's how you get like, this is how the method sort of works, and you're able to cut down on your time. So as you can see, the average time here was 32 seconds, but you're able to do it in 15 because you're able to sort of realize exactly what the question's asking of you a lot quicker. And yeah, I hope this video was helpful for you guys. I hope you guys are able to see some good improvement in your UCAT scores based on this video. If you do, drop a comment down below on whether you improved, whether you didn't improve, and I'll try to respond to all your comments. I do respond to most of my comments. So yeah, I really hope you guys do improve and see some good scores in your UCAT. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.